Before this video starts, I just want to quickly tell you guys about the new Path of Exile Curse Supporter Pack that you can get exclusively on Nexus. It's one of the cleanest Path of Exile sets, in addition to the 200 points you will be getting once you buy it. You will get to support me and my channel in the process. Just head to my Nexus store, link in the description. There you can buy the supporter pack, in addition to other sets and MTXs that I have personally reviewed and selected for you guys. Every purchase you make will cost you the same as if you have done it inside the game, and a small cut will go toward me and the channel. Thank you for being awesome. So, becoming a boss killer in Path of Exile is arguably one of the biggest and most difficult transitions that every exile has to go through at some point of their life. It's one thing to have a build capable of clearing maps, and it's a completely different thing to challenge endgame encounters. And even if you have gathered enough currency to finance your first boss killer, there are other problems that you will have to solve, like trying to memorize bosses' moves, and then trying to dodge these moves because you know, most of them can just one-shot you regardless of your defenses. Another problem is that most budget boss killers does not offer you both damage and survivability at the same time, and you need both if you wish to have a room for error while killing bosses. This is where today's build guide shines, as it offers you both at low budget price, and you will have difficult time getting yourself killed while killing bosses. Just to clarify, this is not a guide for a league starter, but rather, it's a mid-investment build that offers you one of the most relaxing bossing experiences in the entire Path of Exile universe. Even if you are bad in this game, this build has you covered. Well, the Occultist Ascendancy offers many unique benefits to both Cold and Chaos builds, especially those that deals damage over time. As a start, we take Void Beacon. This node delivers a massive dent to all nearby enemies' Cold and Chaos resistance, as well as preventing them from recovering any amount of life. This is especially useful in Maven encounters. Next we have Profane Bloom. One of the biggest downsides of damage over time builds is their bad clearing, and this node comes in handy to save the day. It makes it so that enemies explode when you kill them, dealing a massive amount of chaos damage to everything around them in the process. From here we take Frigid Wake. This one increases our overall cold damage. Also, it gives us chill and freeze immunity, in addition to actively freezing everything around us every few seconds. But wait, that's not all. This node also reduces the damage output of nearby chilled enemies by 10%. Last but not least, we have Malediction. This node gives us one additional curse and makes it so that enemies affected by our curses takes 10% increased damage and deal another 10% reduced damage. That's already 20% reduced enemy damage dealt from the Ascendancy alone. Combine that with the fact that Chill inherently slows enemies' action speed, and you get yourself a powerful defensive layer aside from your items and gems. And yeah, that was it for our Ascendancy. Now for our passive tree, this one focuses on all sources of increased cold damage and damage over time. However, we prioritize these nodes after taking as many energy shield ones as we can. Remember that we are trying to get a hassle-free bossing experience. This means that you should be able to take a hit and recover from it without having to be stressed too much. Now we do have one large cluster jewel setup. Although it's optional, having it doesn't really affect our budget that much. The large jewel has some powerful defensive cold notables like Deep Chill and Disorienting Display. Next we branch off into two medium cluster jewels. These add some powerful damage over time nodes like Vile Reinvigoration and Exposure Therapy. And yeah, that was it for our passive tree. Now let's talk about items. Just from watching the gameplay alone running in the background, I'm sure many of you have guessed our first item of this build. It is Chevron's Wrapping Unique Chest. When you are on low life, you risk getting one-shotted by chaos damage. This chest fixes that for us by preventing chaos damage from bypassing energy shield. This item is a lot cheaper compared to how much it used to go for back in the days. This does not only mean that this build is easier to make, it also means that the chest piece is easier to corruption hunt. Our chest has +1 level of socketed gems, which should be your end goal for the slot when you are min-maxing the build. Our next item is a very simple wand with tier 1 cold damage over time multiplier and crafted cold damage. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's very easy to get something like that by spamming frigid fossils on your wand. For our offhand, we have a shield with as much energy shield and resistance as possible. Now if you are on a budget, then just get a shield with less amount of energy shield than the one I have here. Our next item is Presence of Chayula Unique Amulet. Since we don't care too much about our reserved life, this amulet converts 1/4 of it into energy shield. It also provides us with stun immunity and 60% chaos resistance, a cheap way to tank ourselves at the cost of not having damage on this slot. Don't forget to anoint Tranquility on your amulet for scaling spell damage based on our investment in Energy Shield. Next on the list we have a pair of gloves with lots of Energy Shield and intelligence if possible. Same thing applies to our boots. Just don't forget to have a good movement speed roll on it as a top priority. For our belt, we have more Energy Shield, some strength because we need it to run some of our gems, resistances, and crafted damage. Next for our helm, just like with our gloves and boots, we are looking for as much Energy Shield as possible. That alongside having -9 to the cold resistance of nearby enemies. This is important since we can no longer utilize elemental equilibrium in damage over time builds. Now for our rings, we are looking for as much Energy Shield modifiers as possible. That alongside intelligence and crafted faster start of Energy Shield recharge. Same thing applies to our second ring. And yeah, that was it for our items. Now let's talk about gems. Our main setup is pretty unique since we are not actually utilizing it for a 6-link. Instead we have a double 5-link setups going into it. I will explain why in a second, but for now, we begin with Vortex, Val Cold Snap, Awakened Elemental Focus, Awakened Control Destruction, Inspiration, and level 4 Empower. First of all, using a double 5-link saves us lots of sockets. In addition, since we are using E-Shavs with +1 gems and level 4 Empower, we get to have them benefit Cold Snap alongside Vortex. Damage wise, this is a lot better than running 2 different 6-link setups, mainly because gems like these greatly benefit from additional gem levels. Also with this setup, you don't have to buy 2 separate Empower gems. Our next setup is a 4-link and contains our primary curse gems. Now don't worry, as you are not required to cast any curses in this build by yourself. Now we have Enfeeble, Frostbite, Blasphemy support to allow us to cast the 2 previously mentioned curses as auras, and all those are linked with level 3 Enlighten to reduce their mana reservation. Feel free to swap Enfeeble for Elemental Weakness for more damage against bosses. Our next setup contains our life reservation gems. They start with Malevolence, level 1 Clarity, Arrogance support, and level 3 Enlighten. Last but not least, we have a couple of leftover gems, starting with Discipline, Frost Bomb, and One Righteous Fire, with another level 3 Enlighten gem. And that was basically it for our essential gem setups. I'm using Flame Dash as my primary mean of moving myself around. You might want to use something else like Dash or maybe Frost Blink, it's up to you. Alright, now let's talk about jewels. Our Watcher's Eye has faster start of Energy Shield recharge while affected by Discipline, and gain 10% of maximum mana as extra maximum Energy Shield while affected by Clarity. You can go with 22% to damage over time multiplier if you are feeling rich. Aside from Watcher's Eye, we have one Energy from Within jewel that converts all nearby life nodes into pure Energy Shield. Place it in this specific socket to maximize its effect. Aside from that, any remaining jewel socket you have left is filled with a normal rare jewel like this one. You are looking for Energy Shield as a top priority, and then as many damage modifiers as possible. But of course these comes after complementing any attributes and resistances that you are still missing. Now for Bandit's Quest, we are not going to help any of them as damage over time builds struggles to find any benefit from helping any of the bandits. For Pantheons, we take the Soul of Lunaris for the mages, and the Soul of Aberith for the miners. Gameplay wise, you just have to use your skills and move around the boss trying to dodge everything while he takes damage from both your Vortex and Cold Snap. This type of playstyle is one of the safest that you can find in Path of Exile, as having to deal damage does not constrict your movement at the end of the day. And yeah, that was basically it for our strongest bossing build in Path of Exile. If you guys have enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and maybe even subscribe so don't miss out on any future build guides like this one. My name is Phoenix and I will see you all in the next video.